We will continue to participate as a full, active and constructive member of the G20. He repeated untrue statements about genocide against Afrikaners and the confiscation of land from white people in our country.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced on Wednesday that South Africa would not be invited to next year's G20 summit in Miami, taking his diplomatic offensive against the country to a new level. Trump cited what he described as horrific human rights abuses endured by white farmers and South Africa's refusal to symbolically hand off the G20 presidency at the end of this year's summit to the United States. South Africa has demonstrated to the world they are not a country worthy of membership anywhere, Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform.
Earlier this week, we formally handed over the G20 presidency for 2026 to the United States, observing the appropriate diplomatic protocols. A few days ago, President Donald Trump made a statement to the effect that South Africa would not be invited to participate in the G20 in the United States. He repeated untrue statements about genocide against Afrikaners and the confiscation of land from white people in our country. We must make it clear that South Africa is one of the founding members of the G20, and South Africa is therefore a member of the G20 in its own name and right. We will continue to participate as a full, active and constructive member of the G20. Despite the challenges and misunderstandings that have arisen between South Africa and the United States, South Africa remains a firm and an unwavering friend of the American people. As a country, we are aware that the stance taken by the United States administration has been influenced by a sustained campaign of disinformation by groups and individuals within our country, in the United States and elsewhere. These people who are spreading disinformation are endangering and undermining South Africa's national interests, destroying South African jobs, and weakening our country's relations with one of our most important partners.
Trump's government snubbed this year's G20 summit, which recently concluded in Johannesburg, saying South Africa's priorities, including cooperation on trade and climate, ran counter to its policies. In response, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa refused to formally hand over the G20 presidency to the next host country, the United States, as is customary.
I now say that this gavel of this G20 summit formally closes this summit and now moves on to the next president of the G20, which is the United States, where we shall see each other again next year. The summit is therefore closed.
The South African government refuses to acknowledge or address the horrific human rights abuses endured by Afrikaners and other descendants of Dutch, French, and German settlers, Trump wrote in his post on Wednesday.
Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who was killed.
In May, at the White House, Trump ambushed Ramaphosa by showing him a video riddled with errors, supposedly proving his accusations, which South Africa denies. The G20 summit, a format that brings together the world's 20 largest economies, is scheduled to take place in December 2026 at the Trump National Doral Miami Golf Resort in Florida, owned by the U.S. president's family.